The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Corner Booth Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Clem. Alongside this motley crew cast of characters, we have the intern Chris next to me. Then we also have the TikTok Viking, Mr. Matt Ordazzo, and of course, our fantasy expert, Mason Ruck. We are coming off of an excellent weekend of football, both pro and college. We have ejections, we have death threats, we have overtimes, Fail Marys, overhyped comebacks. It's going to be a good show. Fellas, how was your weekend?
It was Sunday could have been better, but I mean, other than that, I'm not complaining. I enjoyed the Colorado game that I mustered through like 2 quarters of it because it was already like 12:30 at night by halftime. It felt like, and I had to go to bed. Fell asleep right at halftime. Woke up and I saw the game was over and that they came back and won in double overtime. So I was like, I don't know how long that game went until, but other than that, I really can't complain. Everything went well.
What about you, Mr. Mace?
I was out in Tulsa for the Sooners game, so that was fun. Saw them absolutely beat the shit out of Tulsa. So another good weekend. Last night was not great. We'll probably get to that later. But
cost me a goddamn upset pick, Bill.
Yeah, man. That was, me too. But yeah. So great for the Sooners. And, as I sent to you guys, even better from the standpoint that our rivals up north, lost to a specific team from Alabama at home on Parents' Weekend. So it's always nice when they, really show their full sort of capabilities and what they are meant to do. So it was a good weekend from the college perspective.
Yeah, my weekend started off with both my teams playing on Thursday, so it was all downhill from there because I think I lost in everything except me and Matt are in Kelsey and DJ's friend league, and that was the only league I won, and I lost in my work league because my bench outscored my starters because I had Brian Robinson, DeAndre Swift, and Tua on my bench.
Nice.
Oh, and Raheem Moser. So, yeah, no, just literally my bench dropped 100 points, and my starter scored 85. On top of that, I lost everything else. Gambling just went by the shit pot. I just took a bad L. I was telling my boss this morning, Mike, every year, I will probably win in fantasy, at least in one league, but I'm going to lose in something. Either it's betting or fantasy. It's guaranteed. Week 2 is my least favorite week of the year. I can't explain why. I'm always in a bad mood. That being said, gentlemen, I'm happy to have you here. Chris, you were boots on the ground on Thursday, though, before we get into our first segment here, buddy. How was the link on Thursday?
Dude, it was electric. They had a light show prior to the game where everybody would download this app and it would sync up to your phone, and your phone would light up this light, and then the whole stadium would just light up. They also had Michael Buffer do the call before the game saying, let's get ready for football. So it was bone chilling. I loved it. Like I told you earlier before we got on, some dude diagonal from us in our section brought in a cockatiel, a bird. And the thing was screaming its dick off for the first half hour of the game. So that was a little annoying, but had a couple fights in our section, normal Philly thing. Loved it. The game was pretty fun. We barely squeaked out a win. So, that kind of stunk. But, 2-0. I'm here, happy. So, ready to rock.
There you go.
How do you get a bird in the stadium?
I do not know.
My theory is emotional support animal, but I'm not sure if I'm right about that one.
Dude, it was screaming, dude. I was pissed. I almost threw a beer at it.
Have you guys seen the video of the Eagles fan walking the Vikings helmet? And he was like, yeah, walk the dog. He's like, yeah, walk the dog. And he's got the
Oh, my God. You sent me that on Saturday morning. I was fucking crying at work. My boss is like, what the I'm also hungover as shit at work, too. And he's just like, what the fuck is so funny? I just show him my boss, who he has a weird sense of humor, starts giggling walking back to his office. I thought that was a great little tidbit right there. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're on the clock here. That being said, go up, shout out to our boy Stacy. Yo, I'll talk about this in about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, Stace, if it ever popped up. If it, like, I love the comments or the YouTube's being funny today. All right, there it is. Yeah, fellas, the Atlanta Falcons, 2-0 right now. I think it's probably the most surprising 2-0 team besides Washington. We'll get more on that later. But right now, it's Monday. My man Mace has a loaded with content, not time, content. You guys got to realize this. My man Mace is direct shots only. It's time for the Ruck Report presented by SeatGeek. Promo code BELLYUP for $20 off your first purchase. Mason, what do we got?
So we'll lead with this. We touched on it briefly pre-show. 7 minutes ago, Brandon Staley was on the podium, and they asked him about Austin Eckler's timetable for his return with the ankle injury that he sustained mid last week, I think, is when we kind of learned about this, that this was going to be an issue going forward. And his comment on that was that there is no timetable. So if you are an Austin Eckler owner, that doesn't sound very good. Most likely if you had Austin Eckler in a lot of leagues, you took him in a top 5 pick, or with a top 5 pick, excuse me. So just off the top of my head, you're probably going to need to be looking at Joshua Kelly, who dominated the backfield last week for the Chargers. That is the obvious answer. If not, we can get right into the waiver wire targets for this week. So starting with running back, Zach Moss, Indianapolis Colts. 98% of the snaps this guy was on the field on Sunday. Outrageous. So 18 carries, 4 receptions, 107 total yards. He had a rushing TD. And keep in mind that if Anthony Richardson's going to miss some time, that is good if you have Zach Moss. Anthony Richardson, as we know, dual threat. He runs the ball. He throws the ball. So if Gardner Minshew is going to be in there, Jared's favorite, that is, really going to help boost Moss's game here. A lot of carries. He's also a threat out of the backfield in the passing game. So if you can get on him, he's a must start. I've got here that he is rostered in 30% of leagues in ESPN and 53 in Yahoo. I don't have the numbers on Sleeper here, but
it's lower. It's like 20. It's like it's higher. He's rostered in 50%. They ranked Moss high in pre-draft. That's why.
So, if you can get your hands on him, I will preface everyone else that, look, everyone's going to try to get Puka and Kyron Williams this weekend. In all honesty, if you're not at the beginning of that waiver order in your league, or you didn't scoop them last week, you're going to be really dealing with your entire league here. I wouldn't be surprised if literally everyone in every single league throws in a request for both of those guys or one or the other. So moving forward, I've got another guy on here that played last night. He's been really impressive throughout the first 2 weeks. Hunter Henry, Patriots tight end, 14 points in full PPR for each of the last 2 weeks. 6 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown last night against Miami at home. Week 1, 5 receptions for 56 yards and another TD. As we know, look, if you don't have Travis Kelce, man, you need to be exploring all possibilities in terms of tight ends. I understand you might have Mark Andrews, George Kittle, guys like that. Darren Waller is another popular selection. But, this guy is outperforming them. Route percentage, 91%. Route participation, excuse me. So highly involved in this offense. He seems to be a focal point for them. Rostered in 55% of leagues in Yahoo, 34% in ESPN. So he's out there in more than half of leagues. So look, if you are not really comfortable with your tight end situation, if you feel like you can upgrade, put in a wire for him. He's going to be, good chance he's available in your league. And who's to say that this production is not going to continue? 91% route participation last night. I mean, that's impressive for a tight end. So he's my favorite of this list. Moving on. This is a little bit iffy, I would say. I don't know if I would pick this guy up yet. I mean, it just depends on how deep your league is. Tank Dell with the Houston Texans. So yesterday we saw Stroud really look comfortable. He went off. They lost the ball game, but I believe he passed for over 300 yards and he had 3 passing touchdowns. I mean, he looked actually pretty good against a solid defense. The Colts are not a crummy defense. They're not the Jets. They're not the Cowboys. They're not the San Francisco 49ers, but they're a very legitimate defense that, a lot of teams take seriously. 7 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Like I said at the beginning, his relevance in fantasy is going to be pretty much contingent on whether or not CJ Stroud can keep that kind of play up. If he is, stinking it up like he did in week 1, this guy has no relevance whatsoever. If he plays like he did yesterday, you might be looking at a real diamond in the rough here. Rostered in 5% of leagues on Yahoo, 4% on ESPN. Moving on.
Hey, Matt, I put a claim in just now.
Yeah.
There we go.
Moving on, I've got another wide receiver here. I guess Amon-Ra has turf toe, so they don't know. I mean, he's probably going to play, right? You don't really see
They
guys.
said he's like 85% probable, and Amon-Ra, he's going to play unless he's got like a bullet.
Right. Right. Put a plate in the cleat and get on the field, and maybe you take a little bit of a hit in route participation. You're not on the field as much. The production goes down a little bit. But even still, I mean, he's a tough guy. I don't see him just sitting a game out because of turf toe. I don't see that happening. Anyway, I've got Josh Reynolds here. He really went off yesterday, 5 receptions on 6 targets. So that's 1 drop for 66 yards and 2 TDs yesterday. So, look, I mean, now that Montgomery's out, that just means that Gibbs is going to get more targets in the passing game. You've already got to worry about Laporta, about Amon-Ra. So, look, it's a loaded pass game in terms of candidates in which Goff can throw the ball to. Pick him up if you want. He was the overall wide receiver 6 this week, rostered in 12% of leagues on Yahoo, 4% on ESPN. So you can get him. He is absolutely out there. If you feel like you're lacking some depth and you want to kind of stash someone, feel free to pick him up. You never know what's going to happen, in 4 weeks. Maybe someone gets hurt, right? Moving on, we've got another running back out of Baltimore, Gus Edwards. Here, 10 carries for 62 yards and a rushing touchdown. His snap count was lower than his running mate, Justice Hill, but far more opportunities. I believe Justice Hill, I looked into this, he had 3 carries yesterday while Gus Edwards had 10. So much more, many more carries for Gus Bus here. Rostered in 65% of leagues on Yahoo, 32% on ESPN. Now, for a lot of these guys outside of Henry and Moss, I'm not suggesting you start. These are kind of guys that you roster and you just wait a little bit. You got to wait a week or 2. This is not anybody that you're going to start immediately unless your league is just like ridiculously deep. 14 teams, 2 flex spots type of thing. Moving on, this is someone I'm going to personally be looking at because I have Joe Burrow, and it's sounding like his status for next Monday's game, is going to be up in the air. This is Jordan Love for Green Bay. 3 touchdowns yesterday, only 151 yards, but did complete over 50% of his passes. Another 20-point fantasy week. In my league, he is the QB2 at the moment. Rostered in 61% of leagues in Yahoo, 40% on ESPN. I'm not sure who they're playing next week. I want to say maybe it's Seattle. I could be completely wrong on that. Let me fact check myself here. They are playing the Saints. I was way off. Yeah, way off there. So, the Saints have a good defense. I don't know how that's going to affect Jordan Love. He's looked really sharp. I mean, granted, Chicago and Atlanta, are there really performances to lean on? I don't know. And when Christian Watson comes back, is that really going to elevate his game? I don't know. Probably. But if you are not comfortable with the quarterback you got right now, a.k.a. Joe Burrow, a.k.a. Trevor Lawrence, look into throw in Jordan Love a waiver, okay? You might not start him, but it's always good to have that backup on your roster. He's really popped off 2 weeks in a row now. If he goes for a third week, you're not going to be the only one putting in a claim for him. So that's all I've got. We've got 6 guys here. I really like 2 of them. And now, you can go ahead and add Josh Kelly to this list. Some people have already scooped him, because he was already splitting carries with Eckler as it was, just as a handcuff type of thing. But look, if you have Austin Eckler, I feel bad for you. I know Matt here, he has Eckler and Kupp. So he is just getting torched here. Prayers up for Matt. But, hey, you got options, Matt.
It's ending, though. This
Right.
is the one thing. If you have an IR slot, it may suck for about 2 weeks. This happened to me one year I won the chip back in 19. I lost Dalvin Cook, or one of my running backs, for half the season. I popped him on IR, went and found a rookie back that ended up tearing it up, and I steamrolled everyone in the playoffs. It's just a matter of how long you can hang on with the waiver wire.
100%. I'm with you, Jared. Look, it's week 2, right, people? There are early injuries, and I'll say this. It's better to get the injuries out of the way right now than in, November or December, right? Because when those sorts of injuries happen, the trade deadline's passed. You've got no way to sort of recoup your value in players that you've lost. So, like I said, I think it's better to get it out of the way right now, Matt. Kupp's going to come back. He might be at a little bit of a I don't know. He might take a hit in production, but he's still Cooper Kupp. He's still going to be the number 1 target. He's still going to be a guy that you start. Same with Eckler, right? Hopefully Eckler comes back. I don't know what the severity of the injury is. I don't even know what the injury is. We just know that it's ankle.
Fellas, I want to remind you of something. There is always that one dude in every league who never reads the injury report right and drops the guy too early. Keep an eye on the injury wire. Somebody's going to be dumb enough to drop a player who's only on a 5-week injury, and it happened to me. I think I got Hopkins one year because somebody dropped him because they forgot he was suspended or he was injured or something. Just keep in mind to this. It is scummy, but it's league winning.
Right. No, Jared's completely right. Look, you got to keep that winning mentality, right? It's week freaking 2.
Dog mentality.
Right, man. In most leagues, you've got, 11, 12 more weeks to play. You sneak in the back door, you get these guys healthy, you might be the best team in the playoffs. So work the waiver wire, work with what you've got and go from there. Take it week to week. You just got to keep that winning mentality and do everything you can to put a team that is competitive out there week in, week out.
There you go, buddy. Mace, appreciate you doing that as always. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my time to shine. It is time for the one-sentence game presented by Belly Sports and, of course, Candidates.com. Promo code Belly20 for 20% off your purchase at checkout. All right, here we go. We're starting in college. On Thursday, a game nobody watched. Miami dropped 50 on Bethune Cookman. If somebody can tell me which state that's in, I'll be actually very appreciative because I don't actually know. That was the whole punchline of that joke. We go to Saturday, the land of misfit toys, I refer to these games as, because holy shit, picking these for the 6-pack was abysmal. We'll start down in the SEC. The Bayou Bengals took care of business against those schmucks from Starkville. I thought they'd have more pride. They have as much pride as like a divorced parent. It's a little disturbing, man. I don't know. Not even a divorced parent, because at least they have pride in their kids. This was ugly. It looked like a tanking basketball team. They gave up. Did not mean to insult any divorced parents out there. Of course, sometimes my jokes don't land. That being said, speaking of not landing, Oh, Boston College and Florida State. That got a little uncomfortable. Don't insult the red bandana game was for the heroes of 9/11. Shot to Boston College for sticking it to those slime balls from Tallahassee. We shoot down to another place that failure to launch. The Missouri Tigers. We had 2 Big 12 guys guarantee on Thursday the Tigers would not survive. Those boys came to play, and it blew up everyone's parlays on the tarmac. Speaking of just failure to play well, Georgia and Alabama, I don't think I've met a more insecure Twitter fan base than Alabama this season. We were hearing how they were the team to watch. They were the team to beat. They play like crap against Texas. They can't keep up with Texas, and they played a shitty letdown game against South Florida. I wasn't even sure South Florida still had a football team. The last time I was sure about South Florida playing ball, I think Matt Grothe was the starting quarterback. And that was, I think, before Chris was even born. So, that being said, it was a rough week. And speaking of rough weeks, we'll finish off. Shout out to Mason Sooners for handling business. And, of course, to Washington for thumping the most controversial college, because apparently Michigan State just breeds like I don't think any women should just go to Michigan State. Between Larry Nassar, Mel Tucker, and everything else that happens, and the bad water up there in Michigan, just stay away from Sparta, ladies. It looks like just a bad area. Now we finish in Tennessee. What the shit was that, Joe Milton? I stuck my neck out for you, and you looked like freaking DJ Ungalongale, but with even less accuracy. You look like DJU from Clemson, not DJU from Oregon State. That was abysmal. And then, of course, y'all putting their dukes up and squaring up on the last play of the game because somebody doesn't know how to control their players at the end of the game. And last but not least, game of the night. This thing had more dirty hits than a game of Blitz the League. I swear to God, Colorado State was taking payoffs early game for how many times? I think it was Bounty Gate 2.0. Colorado ends up winning. Travis Hunter's out 3 weeks. What the shit was that? Also, I'm not sure if this is true. Chris, I want clarification. There is a rumor going around. The guy who knocked out Travis Hunter, he's a convicted sex offender. I actually heard this from somebody this morning. It was from Jack Mack of Barstool. I will quote him on this. Chris, if you could look this up, I want to know if this is actually true or not. But we'll go to the NFL because holy shit, I was never happier than I was yesterday to have a red zone. We already talked about my Birds. They handled business against the Vikings. It was ugly to say the least. Shout out to DeAndre Swift, $175 and a touchdown, getting finally some respect. Bills and Raiders. Yeah, that sounded as bad as the Raiders played. Next, speaking of bad play, the Bengals somehow hung on, but now Joe Burrow's got a tweaked calf because, Bengals rushed him back from injury. That sounds familiar. Chiefs, Jaguars, if you took the over and you took my advice, you're a bigger sucker than I am. No, I'm just kidding. I love all these listeners. Next up, yes, Chris Hunter Blackburn. Chargers, Titans. This was actually a fun game, besides the fact that I found out later that Eckler's out. Brandon Staley's a horrible coach. Next, shout out to Stacy and his boys down in Atlanta. Packers and Falcons, both solid teams. Young Wei Koo has a bazooka for a leg when it counts. And, Artie Smith with the thumbs up to end the game. The most malign way, like, hey, we won. Cool. Colts and Texans. Hey, DJ and the boys, congrats. Your quarterback's concussed, but you got your first win. Fuck yeah. Bears and Bucks. At James Jones. If you ever say again that Justin Fields is a better talent than Jalen Hurts, I'm going to smack the hair back onto your forehead. What the hell does that take? Justin Fields looks fucking terrible. Giants, Cardinals. If I hear one more if the Giants celebrating a comeback win versus the Cardinals is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. The only person who looked like they actually understood the magnitude of how bad that looked was Brian Dable. He was like, what the fuck was that? During the press conference. Not actual words. That was his words. 49ers, Rams. The Rams are not terrible. They may have found their dude. How do you pronounce this receiver's name?
Puka Nacua.
Puka Pua. Fuck yeah. This dude is a dog. I loved it. It was great. Jets.
The most receptions of any NFL player who is a rookie in their first 2 games.
Speaking of receptions, that Garrett Wilson 75-yard bomb gave me so much hope for my upset parlay. And then I just watched Zach Wilson toss it away. Fellas, how many weeks until Carson Wentz or another quarterback is starting for Jets? We'll go around the horn quick. Chris, how many weeks?
I'm gonna go within the next 3 weeks.
Mason.
See, we're in week 2 now. Yeah, I mean, there's no way that he makes it to week 8. I can tell you that for a fact.
No. Think about next week and what that means.
Matt's gonna go suit up.
Yeah, you're right, Matt. Yeah, I mean, he stinks it up next week at home
Against the Patriots.
Against a team that they haven't beaten in how long, Matt? I mean, years now.
It's been 20. It was week 16 of 2015.
Maybe I was a little generous.
Okay, so yeah, Matt.
I'm on week 5.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, he stinks it up next week. His job is definitely up for consideration.
They're not.
I think we can all agree on that.
They're back. Boyle.
It's UConn great Tim Boyle.
Timmy Boyle. His wife's hot as shit, though. And his story on Hard Knocks is awesome. But his wife,
I give it a couple weeks tops. I think we have a bye week after week 5. I think it could be even sooner. It really depends on how he plays next week with the Patriots. We haven't beat them in 14 straight times. He always plays like shit against them. But this time we have, a better defense and we have the run game. He just needs to use the run game. But if he plays like shit next week and the Vikings go 0-3, I'm making a call to Minnesota hey, what do you want for Kirk Cousins?
Greeny was talking about this on McAfee, and I'm like, I swear to God, Matt's probably somewhere trying to type up a love letter to Kirk Cousins. Cousins on the Jets, they are winning that. They are probably a wild card team and a hard out in the playoffs. Rodgers made them Super Bowl contender, but Cousins is one notch lower. Let's go back to the games because I want Mason to get his thoughts in before he's got a dip here. Commanders and Broncos. That was what you call a Fail Mary. How do you call a 2-point conversion play that sloppy after one of the greatest plays in Broncos history over the last 3 years because of how much of a dumpster fire your franchise has been? And finally, Bill, what the fuck was that? 17-24? I thought you owned them at home. Anybody who's not know who I'm yelling at Bill Belichick. Dolphins took out the Patriots 24-17. All right, Mason, since you are leaving us in 9 minutes, I want to make sure you get your thoughts in. Get your first punches. What stood out? What sucked? College, pro, your open season.
Well, you didn't mention this, but I think it needs to be said. Let me rephrase that. Not enough people are talking about the fact that Wyoming and their backup quarterback gave Texas a very tough time at home for 3 quarters. Texas stepped it up in the 4th quarter and got it done. I watched the entire second half, but they looked pathetic. For the singular quarter that I watched, I believe the score at halftime was 10-7. They were winning by 3 points against Wyoming's backup. And, there's something to be said for Wyoming. They did beat Texas Tech at home in OT in week 1. However, I think given the Alabama situation, them looking terrible against South Florida as well, and Milroe, obviously, I guess now being named the starter again going forward, he's got his problems. I think everybody needs to, in retrospect, take a little bit off that win, not prioritize it, and hold it so highly now that we are 2 weeks removed from that victory. And for me as an OU fan, this is perfect because OU gets to fly under the radar, beat up on Cincinnati, who lost to Miami of Ohio this week, and then followed by Iowa State, who lost to Ohio University 10-7 at home this week. So, assuming that everything goes the way it should, it would be glorious to end their playoff hopes in Dallas in 3 weeks. When they're ranked 4, 3, or 5, whatever it might be. But I think that particular performance is not being talked about enough in college. In the NFL, yeah, just another absolute back-breaking Patriots loss. I will say the one awesome takeaway was Christian Gonzalez, man. That kid is going to be a star.
He is your next lockdown corner. I said it week 1. Everyone's like, oh, Jerry, you're just gassing. I'm like, no. I watched him go stride for stride with Devontae Smith on a slant route. I'm like, for reference, Devontae Smith's slant routes should be taught at like football university. How quick he gets in and out of his break. It's like Keenan Allen, prime OBJ level smooth. And Gonzalez beat him to the ball. That's my 2 cents. Keep going.
I mean, yeah, he looks fantastic. The defense had its mistakes, a couple blocked field goals. But I saw a stat today. Let me see if I can pull it again on Twitter about Mac Jones. Here we go. So your chilling stat of the day, if you're a Patriots fan. The Patriots with Mac Jones at quarterback have an 0-12 record. They're winless in 12 chances when an opponent scores 25 or more points. Now, I don't know if you can solely pin that on Mac. However, if that doesn't show you what needs to be addressed in the offense, aka your receiving core in some capacity, I don't know what does. Because when you're playing the Buffalo Bills, when you're playing the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, hypothetically as the quarterback, the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen, Tua with this reloaded, healthy Miami offense, you're not going to be able to hang around. And someone said it on the show last week, but offense has become the new defense in the NFL, and offense is how you win championships. So the Patriots are stuck playing a game that's completely outdated, and until they change that, there's going to be many more losses like last night and in week 1.
There you go. All right. I also, by the way, I saw that stat too. I thought it was fake. I actually had to wait and look it up because it was like, there's no way in hell that's actually a stat. But then you look back at their games and they kind of, if you actually like look up all their losses with Mac at quarterback, you start seeing it. I think it was Football Reference. We'll show all the games. It's just every single time. It's like 70. He can't close. It's like,
well, it's just he's not. I think the better way to look at it is this dude can't win you ball games when he's behind. In the games that they really looked sharp in his rookie year in 2021, they got off to a fast start. The offense was humming, and they were able to build up a little bit of a cushion, and that's when the game really started coming very easily to him. But when you put him in this position where he's down 21 points or, 14 points, 17 points, he's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Herbert, Jalen Hurts. He's not that type of, player that is just a game changer. And I think they think that he is that. But the reality of the matter is that, Mac was so successful at Alabama because he had one of the greatest, if not the greatest, receiving core in college football history. So
yeah, I think that kind of padded a little bit of stats, just a little bit. I still think he's a solid quarterback. I think the problem is you got to load. He's a poor man's Matt Ryan. You got to put receivers around him, and I just think right now he's kind of in a rock and a hard place because Bill won't relinquish control, and when they lost Hopkins, that team's playoff chances went like
down the freaking toilet, man.
Exactly. All right, Maddie, I gotta let you get your hey, Mace. Any other big topics sticking out to you right now?
You briefly touched on it. I wasn't impressed with FSU. They looked like shit, man.
They
And
awful.
they're rolling into Clemson this week, dude. And I don't think Clemson's good, but that's a hard environment to go and play
FSU by
in.
20. This Clemson team is tail spinning.
They're bad, man. But hey, I will not. I've been out there to see a game. I will not underestimate the atmosphere. And coming off a game that they took their opponent less seriously than they should have in Boston College.
Oh, they're gonna kill Clemson this week because they don't want to have a twofer. I think Clemson's gonna put up a fight. Don't get me wrong. We'll probably talk about this on Thursday when you come back on. But I think that the biggest issue with Florida State was they were looking forward to Clemson, and they kind of were like, Boston College has been ass since Matt Ryan was quarterback, and then they're wearing those bandana uniforms, which just get them freaking fired up. You got FSU fans saying it's the dumbest tradition in college football. And I was like, dude, that's just karma. Y'all about to fucking get your ass kicked or at least not cover. And they didn't cover. So I could have taken my +3. I would have fucking made money. Either way. Mace, we got a doubleheader tonight. I think the Saints and Panthers are playing right now. Give me your picks. Who you got for Saints Panthers?
I've got Saints in the first one. I don't think that should be particularly close just because Bryce, that receiving core is so freaking banged up, man. And, his real best target right now is literally Hayden Hurst. And the Saints defense is solid, man. So, look, I think the Saints win that game comfortably. And then in the later game, give me Cleveland just because Pittsburgh is just so bad, man. And Pickett is just not moving the ball. Deontay Johnson just went on the IR. They can't run the ball because their line sucks. Their defense isn't the worst in the world, but their offense is just so lackluster and young that there's just no way for them to compete in ball games right now. So I'll take Cleveland in the late game and Carolina in this one that's going on right now.
There you go. All right. Mace, buddy, let you roll out of here. Get a little time cushion there. I appreciate. Actually, no, you're a minute late. I appreciate you coming on, Bo. We'll see you Thursday. You ready for another Ruck report and also just another 6-pack? Keep distancing your lead from last place, Chris.
Sounds good, man. I'll see you guys on Thursday.
All right, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Later, guys.
See you, buddy.
Chris, I'm sorry. I had to hit you with that one. It's a little.
Nah, it's cool, bro. It's cool. Come at the intern, the new guy.
Okay,
huh?
I'm gonna do what I do with my CEO during pick'em tournaments. Even though this week, I guess, I wanted to make a joke during our morning meeting because he was bragging how he beat me by 2 in the pick'em this week, and I'm like, yeah. The blind squirrel catches a nut, blah blah blah. And I wanted to say that shit, but I'm like, I didn't want to get my ass handed to me after the meeting, so I was like, I'll let him get this one. Still 2 games to go. I can close the gap here. It's okay, pal. Everyone has a rough week. Matt started off so bad.
Dude, he flipped.
I think I was up by 20 on him. The problem is I was getting ballsy. I started getting ballsy instead of picking with my gut, and that's where Matt closed the gap. So it's a long season, bud. You could still have a new Eagles jersey or a new Temple football jersey in your midst.
Yo, dude, I'm ready, dude. I need a big week 4. Or week 3.
It's week 4. Technically, week 3. But in margins, we put week 4 because technically our week 1 is week 0.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So, all right. What stood out to me this weekend was one. There's not really a bad team yet in the NFL. I think the Cardinals are going to be a 4 win team. Unfortunately, but I think they weren't the thing is and also let's pump the brakes. There's no real good team yet. I think you have our top tier teams, which are KC, Detroit, Seattle, Philly, Dallas. I'm missing one.
Niners.
The rest of them. And then you have 4 teams that are just bad. My 4 teams that are just bad are right now because they can't score any fucking points, are the Patriots, Cardinals, Texans, because they're a rebuilding franchise. It's whatever. Denver's bad. I think Washington's the first fraud. I think the problem is they beat a bad Arizona team, and then they took a bad Russell Wilson, bad play call from Sean Payton, whoever that was calling plays in Denver, to fuck that shit up. I don't think Miami's as good as their record says. I think last night they got lucky. Bill had a game plan for Tua, and it showed. They needed Raheem Mostert basically to carry them last night. That being said, they are a good, solid offense. I think they need to have a healthy Jalen Phillips to make that defense really good. Other than that, I think the Giants are in trouble. They can't stop a pass rush. The Cardinals don't have anybody on a pass rush, so it doesn't really matter who. I'm going to look up. I think the Giants have the Niners, who have Hargrave, Fred Warner, and Nick Bosa and Kinlaw on that that front seven. Then I believe in about 2-3 weeks they come up to me and Chris's neck of the woods. Let's look at the Giants schedule going forward. All right. So that's the Eagles, dummy. That's the Eagles. Wrong franchise. Yeah, they don't get the Eagles. They get the Eagles back to back every other week in Christmas. They don't get us to the end of the season. They get the Niners. Then they've got to go to Seattle and try to outscore Geno Smith, who just came off one of the biggest comeback wins of his career. Then you get Miami with a healthy Jalen Phillips, Buffalo, the Commanders, who, let's be honest, don't have the best pass rush, but they're not terrible. The Jets, hopefully with a new quarterback by then. The Raiders, Cowboys again, Commanders again, Patriots, Packers, Saints, Eagles, Rams, Eagles. Anybody else thinking the Giants could go like 7-10 this year?
I think
I was high on it in the beginning of the year, but just listening to that schedule and just seeing the performance the first couple of weeks, it could be 5-6.
But they're off I think Jalen Hyatt's going to be fun. I really do. I think he's a good receiver. Shout out to my boy Jeffrey. He said it to me. He goes, "Watch this Hyatt dude." I'm like, listen, if he can find a way to get vertical because he's fast as shit, yeah, he's going to be good. Because the Giants are actually going to use him the way they should have used John Ross in Cincinnati. Get the jackass running straight and have him outrun corners. He's not going to beat you underneath. He's not one of those shifty, can stop on a dime and accelerate like a miss like OBJ. He needs a sprinter stance, get him moving, and nobody can catch him. That being said, the Saquon injury is fucked because now it's week to week, which at least means 2 weeks, which means they're going to catch some smoke on Thursday night. As bad as Brock Purdy played, and as much as I think he is overrated, they're going to get smoked on Thursday. Then they go on Monday night in Seattle. No, at home against Seattle. But I believe Seattle has an easy game the week before, if I am correct. They have Carolina next week. So now you're waiting. Yeah, you're starting off the season at 1-3, and then you get Miami and Buffalo before you get another winnable game in the Commanders. So if I'm a Giants fan, I'm freaking the fuck out right now because I'm like, we should have been 2-0. This shouldn't be, or 1-1. Okay, so we should be 1-1. Yes, your record should be this way, but I shouldn't be worried about playing. Honestly, they should have started 2-2. But right now, they're going to start 1-3 because I think Seattle's going to kick their teeth in. San Fran, who should have been a good game for them, might kill them. So I'm going to be real. I think the last team to fall from undefeated is going to be San Fran. I think San Fran is going to lose after Philadelphia. I think Philly is going to lose one in that little stretch where they have to play 6 playoff teams in a row. I think San Fran might go into their stretch because San Fran's and Philly's schedule are very similar with all bad teams. That's a bunch of good teams, and the season's over. So I think San Fran and Philly's schedule can be very similar. San Fran, I think, is going to be the last team to be undefeated this year. They're my prediction. The other thing that stood out to me is Jordan Love is a good quarterback. Because the Falcons are not a bad team. Like, if you honestly want my hierarchy, here's the NFC South's going to finish. Buccaneers are going to win the damn thing at 9-8. Falcons at 8-9 are going to probably lose the final week or like just be out of it. I think the Saints, their offense looks fucking atrocious. And then you follow the Panthers, who I think they're all going to be around the same. So I think last place is going to have 6 or 7 wins. First place is going to have 10-9. And it's going to be the ugliest fucking division, and it's going to be hilarious. The Falcons look good, but the Packers last night, they just pulled their foot off the gas. Stace, I love your team, brother, but I swear the Falcons, they pulled their foot off. They hit the gas. Well, the Packers were trying to take it easy. They should have stepped on the neck, and they did. Same thing with the Cardinals. The Cardinals score one more time. I think that game ends differently. We have a whole different conversation this morning.
Well, dude, going back to what you were saying, like, I obviously do think the Giants are frauds. Like, they almost lost to the worst team in football, and then they go out and celebrate like they just won the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah,
it was.
My mother said something about that to me. I'm like, Mom, I don't know why the hell. She saw the clip. I think one of her friends is a Giants fan, shared it. I'm like, why are they celebrating? They should be slamming their helmets.
Yeah, like this Saquon injury is going to hurt them more than they think. Like, I saw something today, like he was supposed to be out like for the next 3 weeks, and he had like 17 touches last game. So I mean, they were feeding him left and right. But the problem is they had to put all their money's worth on Daniel Jones because they did just pay the man like $40 million for the next 3 to 4 years. He's getting paid like $120, $160 million. He's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. And the problem's going to be like, is he going to be able to lead your team to a good record by hopefully mid-season where you could say, hey, we may be in playoff contention? So I do think the Giants are in trouble just because they have a ridiculous hard schedule. So, I mean, I don't know, dude. But I do know that most likely they're probably not going to make the playoffs because Philly and Dallas are a lot better than them talent-wise on both sides of the ball. But, again, they're the Giants. They've been the same Giants for the past 5-6 years. So there's really no surprise with this team.
I think that's the biggest issue. One last point I'll make is that everyone's got to relax. Like, I saw my boy Pat Mack. I love Pat McAfee. Y'all know how much I love his podcast. He's like, if the season ended today, it's going to be the Dolphins and the Cowboys. All right, let's stop. Because if you want my honest to God opinion, the NFC hierarchy right now, there's 3 teams that are going to the Super Bowl for the NFC. Number 1 is the 49ers. And tied for second is Philly and Dallas. And then it's everything else. Philly fucked around for 2 quarters and still dropped 28 on the Vikings before their offense woke up. And then got Jordan Davis, Joshua, and the boys going, and it was just over.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins played the game of his life. By the way, can we shout out to Kirk Cousins, who's finally kicking this whole stigma of no primetime Kirk? Because he played amazing on Thursday, and the Vikings fucked him. This is truly the darkest of days because Kirk Cousins apparently can play in primetime now. But that's my opinion. I think everyone's got to calm down. The Dolphins should have kicked the piss out of the Patriots. And no offense, Maddie, that game shouldn't have been as close as it was for how long it was. You guys fought your hearts out, but Zach Wilson looked awful. That ball is a foot behind where it was to Garrett Wilson. That's a pick 6. So
no, that was a deflected pass, but I got the thoughts on it. So I with the Jets game, that was one of my most disappointing things for the week. Sloppy performance is the best way to put it. I mean, they were outcoached on all levels, head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Everybody was outcoached. They committed too many penalties, too many blown opportunities on 3rd down. Sauce missed this pick 6. No protection with the offensive line. 3 interceptions from Zach Wilson. There was a fumble with Dalvin Cook. Defense was on the field for 42 minutes and 15 seconds. And there is 60 minutes of play time in a football game. And for 42 minutes and 15 seconds, the defense was on the field. So, in a sense, hats off to the defense for only giving up 30 when you spent literally 80% of the game on the field. CeeDee Lamb was cooked by the safeties, not not Sauce. Sauce was on him for one play, didn't allow a catch, I don't believe. DJ Reed only gave up 33 yards on 3 catches. Sauce gave up 34 yards on 6 catches. Michael Carter gave up 1 catch for 1 yard. The cornerbacks were locked in. It was the fact that you had your safeties on CeeDee Lamb, and they were just getting annihilated. And the defensive coordinator did not adjust, didn't have Sauce cover him at all. Just had Tony Adams and Ashton Davis and whoever else and Adrian Amos cover him, and they couldn't get it done, and he never adjusted. No pass rush at all. There was like maybe 1 sack, maybe. Offense converted 10% of their third down plays. No protection or run game for Zach. He was sacked 3 times. 2 of those sacks were from Parsons, and he was hit 5 times, and 4 of those QB hits was from Parsons. Brees had 4 carries. No defensive or offensive shifts. Like, Micah Parsons was obliterating Dwayne Brown. Why is a 39, 38-year-old left tackle that just came off an injury on a 23, 2-year-old phenom? Like, that just doesn't make sense. The game plan was atrocious. Like, Zach Wilson didn't play good the second half of the game, but the first half he 5 for 10, 94 yards, a touchdown, and 30 something or whatever rushing yards. So I mean, he did what he could do with the protection he had. He definitely gave it away at the end of the game, but he had no choice but to throw, and he only had a few seconds of protection. That was my biggest disappointment of the week. One of my biggest one thing that I was just like, wow, this is insane. Like, this is impressive. Was Michael Parsons. Just the fact that he just dominated this offensive line, and no matter who was blocking him, where he rushed from, he definitely, I think, is one of is probably top 5 as in like most important and best players in this league right now. Like, he's just an absolute phenom. Some surprises I had. Seattle Seahawks just had a masterful performance against the Lions, coming back to show them that, hey, listen, like, week 1 was just a bad game. Geno Smith has it in him. It was just that 1 week that was a bad game. He came back and proved them wrong after they got embarrassed with the Rams. He then, shoved it right down Lions' throats with the ski mask. The Rams surprised me, and nobody thought they were going to be good week 1. Nobody thought they'd keep it within 7 points against the Niners. That surprised me a lot. They seem to be a better team than I think a lot of people gave them credit for. The Falcons being 2-0 is obviously impressive. Jordan Love looks a lot better than I think a lot of people, including myself, thought that he was going to be. Even Josh Dobbs impressed me. Just the game that he played and the points that he put up, even though they still obviously lost, but it was just the fact that Josh Dobbs put up 28 points on an NFL team was just absolutely insane. So a lot of fun things this week. Looking at these 2 games right now, obviously I have the Saints. I believe it's 3-3 right now. Shaq Thompson went down with an injury and was carted off the field for the Panthers, so that's a loss for them. But I think the Saints walk away with this. And then you got the last game of the week with the Browns and the Steelers. I think it's going to be Browns. Nick Chubb and the defense is going to just win them that game. I don't think Deshaun Watson's really going to have to do too much besides just not throw the ball continuously as an interception kind of thing, because I just don't see how Kenny Pickett is going to get this team into the game. I don't see the hype. Preseason, congrats. Everybody's a good quarterback in preseason. He looks worse than last year.
It's because he's got that small hands.
I don't know, man. I know we've been like this every year since Big Ben retired, but I wonder if this is the year that Mike Tomlin finally goes under 500 for the first time in like 16 years.
Said it, which means he's going to avoid it for another year. Chris, before we get to your takes, did your research come up empty or fruitful with our researcher, Mr. Blackburn?
Hunter Blackburn?
Yeah.
So I did, obviously, I looked up who made the hit or whatever, but I didn't see anything regarding anything else outside of the hit.
All right, so we'll get clear because it was Jack Mack from Barstool reported. I was like, yo, this motherfucker actually did get like a couple charges. He had to like finish high school from home. This is all the shit I was hearing. I don't know if it's true. If it isn't, I apologize, Hunter Blackburn. But if it is, yo, like of course it's this dude. Because I saw Keyshawn Johnson already call for him to get suspended. I saw a bunch of all over Twitter talking about him getting suspended, getting banned from college. It was a dirty hit. I saw it live. I'm like, I'm sitting there on the couch with my buddy's birthday party. I was just kind of done drinking, so I went into the other room to watch the game, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, how is he not ejected? Like, that's.
But I think I think a lot of people, despite how the game went with some plays, I think everybody has to give the respect to Colorado State. because they were like, oh, we're negative $2,700. Like it's like I think Colorado was like minus 2,700 to win that game, like heavy favorites. The spread, like we all saw, was like 23.5 in favor of Colorado. So the fact that Colorado State was ahead by two possessions, like, halfway through the fourth quarter, and then took it to double overtime and lost by like one possession. I think it's really impressive on Colorado State's end that they said, fuck the spread, fuck who's the underdog, who's not. We're going to double overtime, and you're going to see what we got. So I think credit to that team for having the fight that they had against Deion Sanders.
Wild. Absolutely wild. I mean, listen, but the problem is, like, if Colorado State played a clean game but fought like this, I'd be a fan of Colorado State. But, dude, they played so fucking dirty. Cheap hits here, talking shit there, smacking dudes after the whistle, slamming guys to the ground. And you know what? I was not a fan of Prime, this whole Prime thing 6 months ago. Y'all seen it. I was not happy. I was a little vindictive because they jacked one of our corners. But I'm not going to lie. Bro, these boys are winning me over. Prime's winning me over. And then I watch them with class take this shit from Colorado State and Jane Norvell and still win. Despite losing their best player. Still win. And Shedeur Sanders looking like a Heisman winner. I saw one of our friends who's a New Orleans Saints and said, oh, it looks like a young Drew Brees. All right, stop. He's Shedeur Sanders. But my man looks like he's got that dog in him. He literally looks like he is going to be an NFL quarterback the way he just sits in the pocket, delivers passes, the accuracy's there. I worry about the arm strength. I want to see him actually let one loose. But listen, Colorado State, if it wasn't for how dirty they played, earned respect with how they stood up. But they stood up dirty. And that's why fuck them. Welcome, thank you for coming on my TED Talk.
Is it bad that I in my head I'm like, you know what? What if Zach Wilson continues to struggle? They trade for Kirk Cousins. They have him for the year. They let him walk after the year. Aaron Rodgers comes in and they draft Shedeur Sanders, and they just let him sit behind Rodgers for 1 year. That's been a thought in my head for the last week.
Let's be honest. Y'all probably gonna finish in the late teens if you guys get Cousins. If you don't get Cousins, you guys can finish in the 20s. I mean, as long as you let Rodgers know, hey, listen, we are drafting your replacement. We know this is probably your last hurrah. We want him to sit behind you and learn. Then yeah. But don't do what Green Bay did and say you're going to draft a weapon, then go draft Jordan Love. Even though technically Jordan Love is looking like the next franchise quarterback for the Packers because they can't miss apparently.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely got to obviously give him that heads up about that. But
I think Joe Douglas is a little more. Joe Douglas is not as slimy as Ted Thompson. Rest in peace. Or Brian Gunther Kuntz. That
right now,
said,
I think.
Fellas, we got second game kicks off in about 20 minutes. Matt, what do you got for me? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was just going back to. I was like, I think at this moment, if you're really gonna truly stick with Zach and you're not gonna look for a quarterback change whatsoever, I think you need to go out there. You got to get him another receiver, or you got to get him another offensive lineman. Like, you got to go call up Adams or whoever's available. You got to go call up who's got offensive linemen for sale, because Mekhi Becton continues to look good on the right side, but the guy that took the left side from him is looking like absolute shit. So you got to make some changes. There's questions with guards and things like that. So if you're not going to change the quarterback, you're going to have to get this guy another weapon. You're going to have to get him another guy to protect him.
Not fair. I agree. Anything else we missed, fellas?
I just want to point out that I thought was going to be the most exciting game of the weekend. The Jags and Chiefs was one of the worst games I've seen over the weekend. It was 17-9. How the Jags get 9 points? Evan Ingram said after they lost the game last year in the playoffs to them, he said, "This is, we get them again. This is going to be a revenge game." And I'm just waiting for that revenge game. I'm just waiting for him. Give me a touchdown. Give me something.
Doug Peterson is 0-4 against Andy Reid.
Yeah, he can't beat his superior. That sucked. I also had I had a 3-legger over the weekend. I think I was talking about it earlier. I had Fields, Nico Collins, and Calvin Ridley getting touchdowns. Fields and Collins got one in the first quarter. Ridley caught 2 out of bounds. 2 touchdowns he caught. They're both called out of bounds. So I lost to that.
Lawrence's ball placement in the red zone is terrible.
Dude, it was horrendous.
But that last touchdown, if that ball isn't half an inch lower, that's a touchdown. We're having a whole different conversation this morning.
You know what's crazy is that I got about 10 points from Engram in fantasy and probably about 20-something from Kirk. So I was like, oh, let me go to the league that I have Lawrence as my quarterback in, and let me see. And I look 6.9. I'm like, how the hell do I have like 40 almost points between these two guys? And I got 6 from the quarterback. And I saw the stats, and I was like, holy shit.
Dude, it was atrocious. I texted everybody. I know.
Like, honestly, Doug should like have Trevor's run stairs all day today. It was bad.
Yeah, dude, it was terrible. Did you guys see? Here's another funny thing I saw. It was during the Detroit game. I don't know what part of the game it was, but some guy was like flirting with his girlfriend on the phone, and somebody took a picture of her shoulder, their text messages, and it got a little, little seductive during the game, and like his font was like maxed out, so you can physically read what the guy's saying. As this game is like going back and forth, this Lions fan is just, texting his girl, I'll be home later. Wink. Just saying. It was something, dude. I'll have to send you guys.
The last thing is kind of funny is that so CJ Gardner-Johnson unfortunately has a torn pec. Breaking news. So he's done for the year. He's done for the year. It was like 30 minutes ago. It got reported. So the blue ski mask, you guys didn't hear, that was him. He asked Detroit fans to wear blue ski masks to the game. So the Seattle players were rocking them post game when they beat them. Listen, I love the enthusiasm, CJ, but you gotta earn the right to do that ski mask shit. Like the Philadelphia Eagles did that because they were the underdogs and they knocked off like 3 number 1 teams. Y'all beat the Chiefs in the opener. Great win. But if you beat Seattle, beat another good team, yeah, fuck it, go for it. But just one win. And it's unfortunate that Gardner Johnson's season's over on a 1-year deal, which really sucks. But also Vontae Maddox is probably out for the season as well, the torn pec. So
saw that. He's hurt every year. He's basically made of glass.
Well, he's also your size, so the man is. You actually might be.
So you're saying I can cover for him, or you're saying like he's.
Listen, if you run a 4.40, fuck yeah,
dude, just shoot me with some fucking. Give me some roids, give me something, dude. Give me something to get the blood pumping.
Give him the smelly swab.
Get you a double XL Trenbolone sandwich.
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah, dude! Give me a bag of Skittles. Right. Call me Marshawn.
All right. Well, I took an underdogs parlay today because I'm a glutton for punishment. I do think the Steelers are going to win tonight. I have the Saints winning. I have Mikey Thomas lighting the fuck out of that secondary because he's big, physical, and both those cornerbacks in Carolina are small and lanky, but they don't have the physicality that Thomas has. And also, Derek Carr has proven he just wants to feed Slant God the ball at all times. And I am okay with that since he's on 3 out of my 4 fantasy teams.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way with the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to win tonight. I think
George Pickens, call anytime touchdown, George Pickens.
I'm going to lock it in right now. I'll take your word for it.
What if I lose the rest of the week? Because I just put my trucks in the shop now, so I got kind of broke until Friday. But
dude, I just got my loads in, dude. I need to hit bad. I need to hit a big parlay, bro.
I was on a hot streak until Sunday. Sunday's around my hot streak. I've been on a hot streak since like November. It's still since August. I've been on a hot streak since.
I gotta start texting you about picks, dude, because I hit once in a blue moon.
I was hitting 1 or 2 a day, but like there were small bets, like $1, $2, $3. But like still, I was like making like enough to like
profit.
Yeah, still like I was still making enough like to not have to deposit money for a week, so it was great.
What I learned was
hot streak died.
If you're not going to do props, which props is probably the safest, easiest bet to win, it's not spectacular because the odds aren't high, so it's not going to look good when you put $10 in. You're only going to win $4, but if you do parlays, I find the most success is if you keep them at a minimum of 3 or less legs. Like once you start exceeding 3 or 4, like it's just not gonna hit.
Matt, should we tell Chris about my 14 legger that almost hit last year?
Oh, that there. Then you got those rare instances where
Yeah,
like that
it
almost
was
happens.
Eagles
And
Giants week 12 or whatever it was. I had Miles going for 80 plus yards and 2 tutties, both hit. Jalen throwing 2 touchdowns, hit. Over 200 yards passing, hit. AJ and Devontae Smith and Miles Sanders anytime touchdowns, hit. And then and the sack machine that was our D line had 5+ sacks, hit. All I needed to turn my $3 bet into like a G was Daniel Jones had to throw a goddamn interception.
You never threw one?
They pulled him in the second half.
Oh, dude. That's a bad beat, man.
I was so mad. I cursed the Giants from that on because I'm like, you dum-dums couldn't keep me to throw one goddamn pick.
last year when Mike White made his return against the Bears, I was like, I've seen this before. I know exactly what to do. And I drank a lot of White Claw Surges, and I pulled out FanDuel, and I said, Jets money line. The over on Mike White's passing, which was only 230-something yards, and I was like, I'm going to take the over, and then I'm going to go to the alternate passing, and I'm going to take the 300+. So I essentially took 300+ Mike White passing, the Jets money line, the over on the receptions and receiving yards for Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson 2+ touchdowns and something else random, like maybe like Elijah Moore 40+ yards receiving or something like that. All of that hit, and I wound up walking away with $1,400. And that was the one time I've ever been like, I owe Mike White everything. And then he got hurt, and I never saw him again. Now I don't owe him anything.
Well, there you go.
I mean, I was going to finish off. Since we're all talking about our bad beats, I had the one in the Super Bowl last year where it was like a 3-legger. I had 4-leggers. It was like Hurts rushing touchdown that hit. Hurts for 250 yards that hit. Devontae Smith for I think 70 yards that hit. And Devontae Smith with a touchdown. That didn't hit because he threw a deep ball to him towards the end of the game. He caught it, but he stepped out of bounds at the 2 and ended up losing because of that. He was he caught it like over his left shoulder, and then he kind of fell backwards to the left, and he missed a touchdown by 2 yards. And given we lost the Super Bowl, that was one thing. And then losing that parlay that close was another thing. I did throw my phone. Did it crack? Yeah, kind of. Did I get a new one? No. I'm still stuck with it. Destroyed. That's a bad bet.
Yeah. No, I get you, buddy. It sucked. Listen, we're about to run out of time here. Chris, did you pick your game? Did you pick tonight yet?
No. All right. So I'm going to take the Steelers just because I think Kenny Pickett's going to bounce back. Say whatever you want. Small hands can perform. And I'm going to take the Saints just because I love them at home tonight. Don't know how this game was guaranteed for prime time. Should have been a 1:00 game on a Sunday, but we ride with it. I'm going to take the Saints. Who dat? And yeah, that's it.
I was gonna ask, buddy, who's in the lead for the? So are you So by the way, are you just adding every week to everyone's totals? That's how you're getting 8 points, 13 points, 10 points, whatever.
No, I'm going from the previous week, so I'll just.
Okay, so you're adding. So I got 4. So you got 4 this week. So now you have 8.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like, because you texted us the totals this morning. Like, wait, what the fuck? How did you get 13?
I could have multiplied them, dude. I don't know what I did. I thought they were accurate.
All right, so you're good. So right now, folks, the current standings: the reigning champion Matthews in first place with 13 points. Myself coming on strong has 11. Mason has 10 points, hanging in there, and the rookie's got his growing pains with 8.
Dude, I'm tanking for Caleb Williams. Everybody laughs. I'm just tanking for him.
He's tanking to pay to throw $33 in for a jersey. That's what he's tanking for.
He's gonna go to Caleb Williams at the podium and be like, hey, listen, buddy, you may be going to so and so team, but just know that I'm drafting you and you're mine, and there's nothing you can do about it.
As soon as he gets his first pro contract, I need $33 out of him pronto. I need to pay my superiors.
Sure. Not
All
so
right,
much.
there
I
you
want
go.
I want 0.2% of your contract.
All right, fellas, we're rolling out of here. Enjoy your week. We will be live, of course, on Thursday for Thursday Night Football, which will be Niners and Giants. New six-pack coming our way. We have Colorado versus Oregon. We have a bunch of other great games. Also, my Hurricanes versus Chris's Owls on Saturday. The
I
Manny
only
Diaz
acknowledge
Bowl.
one owl.
To you.
Only
Manny
acknowledge
Diaz
one
Bowl.
owl. And that is the SASU Owls.
Yeah, fair
To
enough,
you.
buddy. All right, gentlemen, enjoy your night. The show will be the post recording will be up on YouTube in about 30 seconds, and the all audio broadcast will be up by midnight tonight. Gentlemen, enjoy your night. Shout out to our sponsors, candidates, Belly Up Media, SeatGeek, and Mahler Bros. Sorry. We'll see you guys Thursday. Peace.